started.
Yeah,
And
it's like
eventually
this,
got to the end.
and we're talking about this. Let me just jump in. We're talking about Ruth's book here, which is Singularity and Bitcoin, right? Isn't that right?
The Bitcoin Singularity, yeah.
Yeah, Bitcoin Singularity. So we're starting with that, and so yeah, that's a great little read though, Ruth. And for those who haven't read fiction, it's something enjoyable. It's like the first 3 chapters were just like, really enjoyed it, So
Yeah, I think
didn't
I've
rush
read
through
too
it.
many Sherlock Holmes books. I think that's probably where I was getting most of my inspiration from.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm so used to reading nonfiction and legal briefs and complaints and law and all this that I'm like, I actually can kind of slow down here, not speed read, and just enjoy this. I'm like, this is different. Because I'm like, I usually I'm like, how fast can I read something? Like, no, that's not my objective here. I don't need to read as fast as I just enjoy it. It's like
that's great. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's like I say, a bit of a white elephant because I don't know how many people read these days, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. So we got the today we're doing the space today. We're getting started. I just started the recording on the back end. I've got the sound recorded now, but not on the space. I'm going to publish that on YouTube. This is Gavin Mehl. We're going to do the xSpace today. We started doing this. I started hosting this as like a future blockchain xTownhall mastermind with industry innovators, and I'm doing it on Sundays and Wednesdays. And then, but today I want to do a little bit of a different format where we have any of the speakers. You're welcome to go ahead and just be added. Casey and Mila, please add the regular speakers. If they want to, they're welcome. Please have them up. And I wanted to go around to anybody who wants to kind of chime in on a few things on what they're up to, just to basically kind of do a quick 2-minute, roundup. If there is anyone who wants to do that, and then go over to Peter and also Mags, who's going to be jumping on with us in a little bit. Now I think she's here. If she hasn't already been added, please bring her up. And so just to kind of premise this, I did a video yesterday on it where Peter's an entrepreneur. He's an Australian entrepreneur and businessman. He's been in business for 30-something years, 40 years. And we met him in the London blockchain conference, and we're really impressed by him. So wanted to, bring him, introduce him to people. And then also with Mags, she wrote a book on how to onboard people onto Bitcoin. It's just a really simple PDF, free PDF online. It was an easy read and, a short read that like really makes a lot of sense for a basic beginner. And so she has a YouTube channel as well. So we're going to talk to her about that. And then ultimately, the reason I started this was under the principles of the Mastermind with Andrew Carnegie, because if we bring our minds together and we're after the same objective of a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, money for the world, digital, the world's first digital commodity, bring that out to the people like Satoshi describes in his, very articulate videos on explaining what a digital commodity is. He really taught me the elements of that. If we're all behind that same vision, then we come together in a mastermind like this and we can really move it forward a lot faster. And Casey was talking to me, I think on Sunday on the phone, and she was explaining that we can raise our vibrations up with good intentions, and that it's not just a physical thing where we're just talking and doing things, but there's actually a much more spiritual level to it as well. And I would agree that spiritual controls the physical. So if we can somehow come together in harmony, then we're going to be able to push this forward a lot faster than just kind of sitting on the sidelines and complaining about Craig Wright or something, So, let's move forward in harmony. So that's my little quick 2-minute introduction. Let's go over to Mila and Casey and the speakers, and we'll go around. Then we'll go on over to then we'll chime into Mags and Peter. Okay, so Mila, go ahead. You're up.
Okay, I don't even know what to say, but for the moment, regarding everything in the world and the blockchain, my whole inner universe, or what to call it, is just full of all the different reasons and details, and how important it is that we are connecting, and how respectful we have to be of that we even have this option, and that there are some people here with their hearts in the right place, who obviously, when connected, will be such a strong force. And so I see that on all different levels. It doesn't matter for the moment. It doesn't matter who I talk to, what situation I'm in. I'm seeing these kind of things all the time. It's just explosive. And I guess it's meant to be that way because, you know, this whole battle that people call the battle between good and evil, I prefer to say, you have good and bad, but then you have the battle between love and evil. I think it's more accurate. And so, yeah, as that is intensifying, well, then, then this stuff I'm talking about is really important. Yes. Yes, we need to absolutely not waste time on nonsense and arguments and playing games, but pay attention to who is who and then build up our community and support each other because people get really discouraged and exhausted. And I think we all know some examples of it within the blockchain circle. So, yeah, that makes this really important. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank
Uplifting.
you.
Thank you, Mila. Beautiful. Casey, Nicole, you and Mila just met for the first time. So please, this floor is yours, 2 minutes.
Just really happy to see all the familiar faces. Really excited to continue building, even though all of the turbulence lately with the trial and that's still going on. But there's just so many people in the world that are still under the mind control of the crypto psyop. And Satoshi, this morning, I shared that post from Ariel. He's like one of the top accounts on Twitter and has so many followers that he's leading into XLM and XRP. And I'm just watching this all play out. I really appreciate you chiming in there on that thread because a lot of people follow that. So that's all it takes is us just continuing to work together and spreading information and supporting each other in the comments. I mean, they definitely strategically do that for each other, in the other camp. So it's going to take that, and that's why we've all gathered here today. So thanks, Gavin, for creating the space, and let's fucking go.
Yeah, gathered here today. This sounds powerful. I love this. Well, let's go over to Ruth. You were we were talking about your book when we started, Ruth. So carry on. 2 minutes. Good morning.
Hi. Oh God, if you make me talk about the book, but like I always give too much away. That's my trouble. I'm hopeless at talking about it. No, it's a fun novel. You'll recognize people from the space in it. You'll recognize a lot of the terminology and just the underlying kind of history in a way. So it's a bit of a romp through Bitcoin, the technicalities of it, and what it could do for us, how it could make the world a better place. So yeah, it's a fairly light story. It's not too dark. It's just hopefully meant to be fun to read, and I'm hoping the idea really is a bit sneaky, I suppose, is to try and spread the word about BSV a bit more by getting people to understand that there is two types of Bitcoin. And one's shit and the other one's great. Yeah.
Do you have any plans for an audiobook? Because I personally love being read to. Maybe it's like my inner child or something, and your voice would be perfect. A lot of authors aren't the best to narrate their own books, but I think I would love to listen to you reading me your book.
That's really sweet of you. I'm hopeless at reading, actually, really bad at it. But I have made an audiobook version, but it's read by an AI, I'm afraid. But it is available on Canonic now, so you can get that today if you know what Canonic is. But I mean, I definitely would like to read my book and put it on Audible, but it's a lot of work, honestly. It would take me a long time, I think, because I'd be constantly screwing it up and having to go back and re-record bits. So it's not an easy thing to do that.
Sure. No, I can imagine it. It sounds like a big undertaking. Maybe if we get enough interest, I saw some emojis going up. Maybe we can throw up a crowdfunding campaign just for that one singular mission to get Ruth to read her own audiobook if we raise enough Bitcoin.
Fair enough. No, but the 11 Labs version that I've done is actually super good. 11 Labs is way better than any of the other kind of robotic voices that you get on like Google Play, or I think even Audible is doing digitally read books now, but they're not very good. So it's actually a really high quality AI version, but
No, you're right.
nonetheless,
I was just looking
not
at
quite
something
the
like
same.
that uses that. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. They
Yeah.
have so many different like characters in now that you can choose from. So, which did you pick? Try to pick somebody that has your same voice for the
No,
AI, or
I picked an English male, but he's got a really good narrator's voice, very, very chill, very kind of, radio voice sort of thing. And I
cool.
did, when I started to do it, I did try and put all the different accents in for the dialogue, like pick different voices and do it like a radio play. But my God, that was taking a long time. And it's really quite difficult to find all the right voices. And then in the end, I thought, no, we'll just get one voice to narrate it because it's probably the result is better in the end. But I'd love that. I would love to make it into like a radio play format where you've got, an Australian Satoshi sounding voice and all the rest of it.
Pardon my
That would be a lot
interruption
of
here,
fun.
Ruth. Good job.
Yeah.
Way to go. This is beautiful. So thank you. Let me just chime in and we'll go on.
Thanks.
I want to go over to the next. Who do we have up next? We were bringing up, was it Satoshi in next?
Yeah, let's go to Satoshi next.
Okay. Satoshi TV. We talked about you a couple times already, buddy. Good morning, man. How you doing? 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm all right. What do you want me to fill the 2 minutes up with?
Man, if I could ask one thing for you to talk about is give me the pitch on why Bitcoin is a digital commodity. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah, okay. So commodity is first of all something that's common, and in order for something to be common, it can't have any central point anywhere, including the starting point. And it's the starting point that all these cryptocurrencies fail on because they all have one. So it's actually a paradox in the fact that with Bitcoin being a digital system, it has to have a starting point. And the way Craig got around that is by adding commonality to the starting point, which was by giving everybody a common, equal, and reasonable opportunity to start the network themselves, hence releasing the white paper on the 31st of October, not starting the network until the 3rd of January 2009, and then starting the network under a pseudonym in order to let it grow without any central point of influence. And then the network itself didn't have any central point of failure because it's got multiple competing parties sustaining it. There's common accountability because the users of the network are equally accountable to one another through the chain of digital signatures. So there's no central point of authority there. You have unbounded scale, so limitations and restrictions can't be manufactured, and therefore the network not be manipulated. You have a fixed token supply, so it can't be inflated or deflated, and you have a locked protocol so that no one can change it. So that's literally why it's a digital commodity, because there is no central point of authority, control, or failure anywhere in the system. So
give me the headlines for each element. Fixed protocol, lock, what else?
Yeah. So the five elements that actually make up the protocol are economic competition, because without competition, you simply get collusion and centralization. And it's a competition that divides, that separates the parties that are sustaining the network. A chain of digital signatures for common accountability, and then unbounded scale, so can't be manipulated, or limitations and restrictions can't be applied. Fixed token supply and a locked protocol. That's literally it.
You did that in less than 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hey, well, I can continue a little bit more if you want.
I will let's open up in a minute though. Let me just go around and try to keep a little bit organized. Then we'll open up. Okay. So, thank you, Satoshi. So let's, who do we have next? Who was in? Was it Casey? Who?
Brett or Alex?
Brett. Okay. Brett Banify, Mr. I forgot. Everybody needs to give their Twitter X handle, because on the recording, people ask about that. How do they reach you? So it's at MANIFESTABLE on X. Brett, how you doing, buddy?
Hey.
Good morning. 2 minutes.
Good morning. Yeah, so I am manifestable. It's a little bit hard to pronounce or say or spell, but Just think of it, if it is able to be manifested, then it is manifestable. And that's maybe what I wanted to start off talking about, is just, manifesting itself, the concept of it. One thing I've realized is that, I haven't really done too much teaching about how to manifest. I just use it a lot in my own life. But if that's something that interests you, reach out to me. One of the ways that we can get started, I just had a tarot reading done for me. It's something that I do myself for other people. It's how I met my wife, believe it or not. I met her through a tarot reading. I flipped over her cards and I just said, wow, I see myself in your future. And it worked. So, but yeah, I'm happy to do a reading with you. It's really fun. It's a good way to sort of get below the surface. And then, the second part of what I wanted to talk about was just that, I'm with the community side of BSV, the BSV Association, and touching on just a little bit of what Sartoshi was talking about with the commodity side. In specifically, I was doing that tarot reading. Of course, we commonly understand there to be 4 elements of the universe. That's earth, wind, water, fire, right? Those, it's not, none of those are controlled by any central entity. There's no like central entity of water, right? That's sort of, one of the unique parts about these elements of the universe is that, they're in a way sort of distributed or decentralized. They have their own rules, etc. And you can use the predictability of those rules to do things like building a house or constructing a dam, etc. But sometimes there's commonly referred to as a 5th element, and it's the 5th element. Sometimes it's called love, or another example of it is sometimes it's referred to as the ether. And another way to commonly think of it as is there's a term called the Akashic records. So the Akashic records are a theoretical idea, or a mystical or an esoteric idea of all of eternity basically being recorded in this system that is immutable, and so I wanted to just sort of draw that parallel between the things that are going on with the emergence of Web3 and blockchain, scalable solutions, everything that Sartoshi was talking about, and say, these have these parallels, this concept of truth, a truth ledger that is permanent, that can never be changed, that we all interact with, even if we don't know that we're interacting with it. We accrue it as karma, when we help an old stranger across the street or something like this, when we're doing something good in the world. There's this old idea of this circling back and having some impact on the lives of others and stuff. And so I just want to use that as my intro and just say, we're in an age where these things that have been sort of visualized and even given terms as the ether, the 5th element, love, the Akashic records, they have always had this conceptual resonance with humans, but they've never had like a actual practical component to them because of just, obviously it's so difficult. There's so many variable conditions that would lead to centralization of that 5th element. And so what we're seeing with BSV, we're seeing kind of the emergence of that commodity side of it, the uncontrolled side. And the beauty of that is that just like a mirror, when you walk in front of a mirror, it shows you exactly who you are, right? Well, same with BSV. BSV is going to, show you exactly what you are. It's a public ledger, doesn't hide anything. But we can use that to our advantage just in the same way that we can use the elements of earth, wind, water, and fire. And so I'm excited about that, especially how it relates to manifesting. Excited to be here, Gavin. Thanks very much for having me.
Love it, Brett. Thank you so much. Let's come back to that in a little bit. Brilliant little intro. Okay, so let's go over to our friend, Mr. Alex Favel over there in Amsterdam.
Good evening, Gavin.
Good evening to you. Good.
How are you?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Excited to get this BSV thing off the ground finally. I think
so. What sort of value, or can you give us in 2 minutes an inspirational what you're doing and how you want
to? Inspirational in 2 minutes. Well, we've got an opportunity here to actually affect change. I think with this GameStop stuff, people are kind of looking at the stock market and realizing that prices are all made up. And all the people that are kind of talking about GameStop seem to be into Bitcoin slightly. But a lot of them seem to be conspiracy theory minded, which I think works in our favor, since BSV has been the victim of a grand conspiracy to be suppressed. I think if we manage to get in touch with some of them and explain some simple concepts like what's known as the Monty Hall problem, which is, you know, you're a contestant on a game show, and the host gives you the option of choosing between 3 doors. You're looking for a car, and there's goats behind the other ones. He gives you the choice, you choose one, and then he removes one that has a goat behind it, one of the doors with a goat, and gives you another choice between the 2 remaining doors. And you're always statistically more likely to win if you switch on the second choice, because the odds for the second choice are not 50-50, they are 60-30. Now, that's if the host is honest, he'll remove a door with a car behind it. But if the host is dishonest, which we can say that the host of the crypto exchange is, they'll remove the car, and then you always get the goat. And if we can kind of use these sorts of easily understandable children's problems effectively to explain what's happened to Bitcoin, I think they'll get it pretty quickly. But that's just a case of getting in touch with these people and explaining what's happened, and hopefully they'll be able to make some of their content for their millions of followers and actually expose what the crypto exchanges have done. And I think that the BSV limited case in the UK is a big step towards that occurring, because even if that case goes against us, the fact that it's happening in the first place shows people that there is something there. But I think this case is going to go forward. But my predictions on the outcomes of these cases hasn't been great, so don't take my word for it. You'll have to look for yourself.
Nice, right on, Alex. Well, thank you. So before we go over to Peter and Mags, do we have anybody else? Casey, Mila,
Alex.sats was up here, but I don't see
Alex.
I think we're good. You can go ahead on to
Yeah,
Matt.
he vanished.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and chime in with a quick introduction here. We haven't heard from Mags or Peter, so why don't we start with Mags here? You and I. Let's see, Brett. Oh, actually, you know what, Brett? Would you give her a quick, just not a 5-minute, but just a short introduction, because you recommended that I meet with her.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for joining, Mags. So yeah, Mags is looking to promote BSV, and I think very in line with the the same vision that Satoshi was just describing. It's and what Alex was talking about, just in terms of the abilities that it has to broaden and deepen community. So Mags reached out to me and just, said she was interested. She wrote a book. She was interested in, starting to do some BSV content. I think she went on to a podcast recently with Max, Crypto Max, I believe. And so, yeah, without further ado, just want to introduce Mags to you, and would love to hear, what you're interested in.
Good day, everyone.
Good morning, Mags. And if we can just kind of do a little back and forth, we'll keep kind of an introductory segment here, and then we'll go a little longer too. So, but yeah, feel free. I mean, tell everyone a little bit about your story, and we're so glad to hear from you here. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you for the warm welcome. Brett, thank you for the intro to Gavin, number 1, and Gavin for hosting, number 2. I greatly appreciate it. So I am new to the space. I've been in the crypto space for about a year now. And about 6 months ago, I did a little bit of deep diving and discovered BSV. And that is probably attributed to my left of center thinking. I follow rabbit holes. So this, of course, was a whole new world to me, and I understood it to be something far better than BTC, what is being promoted. And I thought, well, this for me works. Mostly because I'm a libertarian. I am looking a way out of the fiat system. That is my number one goal, freedom. And this aligned with that, which worked perfectly. I ended up becoming incredibly frustrated and discouraged by what I was finding online because I wanted to get a hold of this treasure and was unable to. So that forced me into a position of taking notes and figuring out how to get a hold of BSV. And from that, of course, I created an ebook, and that is now for sale on a platform so people can get a hold of it. Sales have been pretty brisk, which is great. There is a lot of interest. Now, having said that, I also started a YouTube platform, and I recently got a slap on the wrist. I've spilled some milk, which I guess now maybe I'll find a new space on Rumble or Twitter, but certainly there are some unhappy campers.
So was it censorship or a strike or what happened?
It was, Gavin. It really was. And I'm a seeker of truth. So wherever that lands me, I'm okay with that because that's who I am.
What was the word or the subject that got censored?
It was a link that I had provided with regard to Craig. So the past, I guess, weekend was very tumultuous with things happening in the community, etc. And I wanted to, of course, share my thoughts and where I stood on that. And that got me a hand slap, a reprimand from YouTube. So
I have to ask, I mean, I need more information because I've made 100 videos about the subject matter and I haven't been slapped. So what is the specific difference that you're saying that I'm not?
That's the point of confusion. I have no idea. I have not reached out to YouTube. And I tried to post again this morning with a fresh video, 3-minute video, which was pretty blasé, to be quite honest. It was just promoting our space here today, and it hasn't even been uploaded. It's been over 3 hours. So things are afoot there. They certainly are probably going to put a strike against me. So I need to find a new space to vocalize this and of course share the information.
Well, it's a great, okay. Is that, well, thank you. That's about 3 minutes on an introduction. You want to stop there or you got to add anything else before we come back to you? Cause I want to engage more with you, but
I'm good. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Okay. Yep. Don't hang up. I want to talk to you more. So, but before we do that, let me go over to our friend in Australia, who sounds like he set an alarm, to be up in the middle of the night to talk with us. So that's Peter Kritas, if I'm saying it right, Kritas or Kritas. And Mehl, you may want to go ahead and if you don't mind introducing Peter, because you were the one that really introduced him and brought him forward. Well, we both met him, but please. Mehl?
Okay. Well, I think Peter will introduce himself much better than I could, but we met Peter in London and he was there shortly. And yeah, we didn't get to have dinner and stuff and whatever, but so here he is and let him introduce
He was
himself.
there when we were meeting with Ian Grigg. He was actually on the left in the video.
Yeah, also, yeah.
That's right. So Peter, well, thanks for joining us in the middle of the night there in Australia. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gavin. And it's really good to hear so many good spirits out there. And obviously, I wanted to connect with the BSV community to find out more about BSV. I haven't really been very focused about BSV, but I'll give you a little bit of a background myself. I'm a software engineer, studied electronics engineering, got into software engineering. By 23 years old, I wrote my first accounting system. I love technology, always have. I'm a numbers guy. Due to my technology background, I somehow got myself involved in businesses that were outside of technology because I thought I could run them better and make it more efficient. And I guess that made me a little bit of a serial entrepreneur. So I've been involved in franchising now for about 35 years. I've had 6 startups, and it was around 2009 as well when I had just launched a franchise chain here in Australia with 600 franchises, and I did that within a year. And there was a lot of commotion, a lot going on. My company was a public company. I still operate that business. I believe in owner, operator, and franchising models. I'm a veteran in the space, and of course, my family actually still operates that business today, and it's the only 5-star Google rated logistics company in Australia because it's owner, operator driven. So my strength is basically franchising as well, and I guess in 2009, I found out about Satoshi, and effectively, I read the white paper, thought it was never going to happen because peer-to-peer money, I thought was a little bit
Okay, I just lost him. Did anyone else? Did I lose audio or?
Yeah, I lost him as well.
Okay.
Suddenly it went silent.
Peter, we lost you. If you're still there.
If you can still hear us, you can leave the space and come back.
Yeah, if you're having a technical issue, on space, you may want to just disconnect and come back in. That is a common error on the Twitter space, xSpace.
He was just getting to the good part too. I was like, what did you learn?
2000. So it sounds like he was saying in 2009, he read the white paper. He's in Australia, and I think he's going to get to some juicy stuff right now. So I'm thinking like, whoa, 2009, where was it? That's early. So, well, Peter, please jump back in. Once you're reconnect, perhaps you can disconnect and reconnect because we've totally lost your audio. So we'll come back to you. So that being said, let's kind of open the floor up a little bit more here before we, we could actually, before we open up questions, do we want to have any topics here that we wanted to reconnect on? Let's see, you were mentioning Satoshi or Ruth, Brett, Alex, Mags.
I wanted to mention
Casey?
real quick to Mags before I forget and we get too much further into conversation, but Pods by Gibio, Ray Kitty Treats at Kitty Treats has a platform that you can also put some exclusive content on and start earning micropayments of BSB for your podcast episodes. So don't forget to put some stuff on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mags, one of the things sounds really interesting what you were saying was that so 6 months ago you were on a deep dive, you're a libertarian, you're a freedom junkie and you're trying to be, find out more freedom. And what were you buying into XRP at that time? Maybe buying into XLM and thinking that it was gonna change the world? Where were you at? Maybe Litecoin. I mean, where did you see things? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second here. This doesn't make sense. Like, how did that transition happen?
Right. Well, the first foray was into just a really basic stock exchange that we have here in Canada called Wealth Simple. So I just made an account there. And of course, in addition, they had crypto. So I followed the crowd. I did some Bitcoin. I did some Ethereum. I did some XRP, et cetera, et cetera. Just, of course, because I had no clue what I was doing. And that's all the rhetoric I was hearing on the outside. Buy XRP, buy this, buy this, buy this. Okay, fine, I'm going to buy. Now, even though it was a starter account, it just got me interested and hooked into figuring out what I'm really buying into. And I am, a proponent of people not just blindly buying because they hear the buzz, but because it actually aligns with who they are and what they're looking to accomplish, specifically financially. So when I started to do that deep dive, I realized that Michael Saylor is just a mouthpiece for BTC, nothing more. He's just spouting rhetoric. And I do believe he knows about the fork. I do believe he understands that, but he has an agenda. Like everyone does, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And then for whatever reason, I got a pop-up, and I think it might have been you, Satoshi, or Gavin, or Max, but something clicked BSV. And I looked at it twice and I thought, wait a second, that's not BTC, it's BSV. What's this about? And then I started learning, and of course, down the rabbit hole I went.
So was it one of Satoshi's videos, do you remember that was like, oh, wow, this makes sense?
I can't remember, except that, again, I did notice that it was BSV, not BTC. And that I had not recognized. And that was the clue in, there's something else here.
So then where did that lead you next? What did you do? A Google search or something, or, read a CoinGeek article, or? That
was it. I had started watching videos. I got out my notebook and I started taking notes. And
let me just chime in. This happened to Brett when he tells his story on one of the interviews I did with him, where he was, really interested in this stuff. And then he searched on Google and they said it was a scam. And so then Brett's like, Brett, you remember that story where you said that you thought it was a scam, and then I don't know what you kept searching past the first page or something, and I don't know. It seems like, did that happen to you?
Yeah, and I always have to check for myself. So I was like, okay, like I generally believe that humanity, I think we're always trying to do our best, so I give humanity the benefit of the doubt. They all say it's a scam. All right, I'm going to go with what they're saying, but I'm going to investigate it myself. And then I'm like looking into it and I'm like, wow, these scammers are so good. It sounds like logic. Like, wow, that's amazing how good they've gotten at scamming. And then, but little by little, I was like, but maybe it is logic,
So Mags, what was your story like? You're uncovering, I mean, you're starting to take these notes and put the puzzle together. Seems like it happened kind of fast. It's only been the last.
It did. It was like being hit by a brick wall, because when the truth descends, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. You know it, you recognize it. It resonates inside and you go, that is the truth. The other is bullshit. And I simply started consuming as much information and learning as much as I could. So I was lurking around sites, I was listening intently, and I was learning quickly. And I compiled all the information I had. And then when I had the guts, I decided, okay, I'm going to figure out, I need to get a hold of this. That was the problem. That was another brick wall. And unfortunately, there was nowhere that I could find to buy it, because the platform that I was using didn't have it listed. So then began the search of trying to find it, and how can I buy this? And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's not a simple process. It wasn't like opening the account I had on Wealthsimple. I actually had to create a wallet. I had to find an exchange. I had to create a system, a private, confidential system. So that's what I did. And I just documented everything slowly but surely. And that first buy of BSV was absolutely a hit of dopamine. It was euphoric. And I'll tell you, it matched the same euphoria I had when I bought my first amount of silver bullion. I stacked coin. And when I bought that in 2021, I walked out of the local coin dealer and it felt like I had robbed a bank.
Is this legal?
100%. I had about 2,000 or 3,000, which is really heavy in silver, silver troy ounce. And I was walking down the street feeling, oh my God, this is illegal. I'm going to be arrested. Somebody's going to arrest me. I felt like I had committed a crime. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is programming. That's programming from the system telling you, you don't deserve that money. You should not have that money, but that is God's money. That is real, gosh, goodness, God's money, silver and gold. Thank you very much. And I took it. And I've been stacking ever since. And as you know, the last few years, we're looking at huge gains in silver and gold. Fantastic. So that's the same feeling I had when I actually found the real McCoy when it comes to crypto, and something that can be outside of the system. For me, again, I do not want to partake in this fiat fiasco. I cannot do it.
What's the problem with the fiat system? Why is it so urgent to you? What is the urgency?
Okay, so we are literally, and I actually mentioned this in my ebook, we are about 24 months out in my opinion, of it having a serious collapse. If you're looking at crypto, you cannot look at it with a single lens. You have to look at global finance, you have to look at global economy, and you have to look at central banks, right? So central banks for the last couple of years have been hurriedly buying up gold like it's going out of style. The reason is we're looking at a gold-backed system coming in. So if the fiat is completely on life support, this is going to be an awful crash. It's going to make 2008 look like a hiccup. And I don't say that as an alarmist. I'm saying that as a matter of fact. And history will either prove me right or wrong. It doesn't matter. But in my mind, I'm doing what I can to be aware so I can prepare. BSV is one of those measures. I have decided to stack BSV. I believe in the technology. It works. It's sound. That's what I'm going for. So I am building my portfolio as a senior now, as a baby boomer, in light of that. How can I best have the remaining years, which maybe 30, maybe 40, who knows, but I want to make the most of that financially as a gift to creating generational wealth with the rest of my family.
Thank you, Max. Well, before we go back to our friend there in Australia, in Sydney, when he comes back up, Satoshi, she talked a lot about you. So did you want to comment on any of that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, great to meet you, Max. That's a fantastic story, and I hope I contributed towards your education on Bitcoin, because that's the whole point of me doing what I'm doing, is because the conspiracy against Bitcoin out there is just absolutely massive. And I was just like, you know what? There's going to be so many people like just literally jumping in and saying that's a fraud, that's a scam, blah, 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 blah. I thought, you know what? I'm going to have to just simply educate a core few people, because once you get it, you can't, like once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't get hoodwinked again. And so all you need is somebody to say, look, this is what they've done. They've removed the signatures from the transaction, so you can't prove that you sent or received them, which means you can't prove that you have any authorization over anything that you own. If you've got a data in your wallet that hasn't got any digital signatures on it, because the way the ledger works is that if you make a transaction to someone, like for example the first payment to Hal Finney, what actually happened was that 40 Bitcoins were sent. 10 Bitcoins were kept, and then the 30 Bitcoins returned, leaving Hal with a balance of 10 Bitcoin. So you have like a two-way transaction for the actual exchange to take place. And if your signatures aren't on it, you've got nothing. You've literally got nothing, because it's your signature that authorizes it. So
Satoshi,
once people sort of realize that fraud, and again, it's outrageous that nobody's picked up on this before, because if you tamper with a wet ink signature, that is fraud, because it's the signature that validates and authorizes the contract that you've got. And it's the same with the digital signature on a transaction.
Satoshi, you were the one that identified the easiest way to tell if you're dealing with the original Bitcoin or not, and that was by the numbers on the wallet.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to mention that briefly about how that worked? Just in summary, it was a number one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Because I realized that when there is a change to when there is a fundamental change to the protocol, there has to be a material change somewhere else. And I was just like, well, it's got to be with the legacy address. It can't be anywhere else. There has to be somewhere or somehow for people to know. And so when I looked back, in history at all the transactions, I was just like, hold on a minute, everything starts with 1. And then I was thought, well, of course it would start with 1, because the first and genuine product that comes off the production line always has the number 1 to indicate that it's the first. So it would make sense that the guy who created Bitcoin would create legacy addresses for Bitcoin that started with the number 1.
So all the Satoshi era coins were number 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they all start with number 1. So when this lot introduced SegWit, for example, and they were fundamentally segregating the digital signatures from the transaction data. there had to be a change. And and then when I looked for it, I was just like, oh, there it is. You know, all SegWit addresses started beginning with, you know, the number 3 or the letters BC. And what's kind of interesting about that is that is the central starting point for SegWit, which means that SegWit is a securitized protocol. That's the start of it, because the start of that protocol has not been commoditized.
Hold on, that's just brilliant what you just said. Basically, and it makes sense. So basically, you're saying that because of the number 3 or the BC, it's actually just a reflection, which a security is like an IOU, right? You've got a piece of paper here, IOU. It's like a reflection of that original, right? Or is that what you're saying?
Well, a security is something that is issued by a central party. And so SegWit, because it didn't go through the process of commoditization, and it had a central starting point on the 24th of August, 2017 via Peter Wool, you know, effectively, it's Peter Wool's security offering. All those SegWit tokens are Peter Wool's security offerings.
Wow. Well, thank you, Satoshi. Casey, Mila, do we have Peter back up?
Yes, we do.
Peter.
Yeah, hi Gavin, I'm back on.
Nice, buddy. Well, you left us on a cliffhanger, so that was a perfect little segment to a short introduction. That was beautiful. So, but now you got to continue on where you left off, which was
I'm not sure where I left off.
Okay, you left off right where you said 2009. You got a copy of the Bitcoin white paper. You read it about Satoshi. You started looking into it, and then you cut out.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So I guess in 2009, when I looked at the white paper, the first thing I thought was peer-to-peer money is never going to happen at a legal level. Of course, there were companies like Napster, and everyone was doing peer-to-peer everything back those days, and people getting locked up in jail. So peer-to-peer money, I didn't think that was ever going to happen, or the governments would allow anything like that. So from a commercial level, I pretty much just put a big cross on it. But as the years went on, and I was not into Bitcoin or the whole crypto industry, but around 2016 and 2017, at the start of 2017, I was working on a project, an artificial intelligence project, which was one of the most difficult projects of my career. And it was a Google for property search engine. And of course, I was hearing a lot about now blockchain, not Bitcoin. And it was blockchain, property records on blockchain, health records on blockchain. It was not the internet of money, it was the internet of data. And of course, the project that I was managing and was crawling the internet to get data verified so it can become useful and informative would have been challenged by blockchain technology. And so I decided to have a very good look. And I realized that after a few months that there's a lot of technology out there that was built from 2009. And it was a huge industry, and it was regulated, and somehow I sort of missed all that. And so I immersed myself in it really heavily. And then I realized, don't worry about property records, because it seems like the top 100 coins, at least, and the technologies that are out there, no one out there is actually trying to take this space, take this technology and actually compete in the centralized payment space. And it didn't look like any of the technologies were going to compete with a Visa card or a MasterCard or the banking systems. I don't think they were designed that way. And there was certainly a lot of scalable, technologies in 2017. Even here in Sydney at the university, we had the Redback blockchain that was already up to 600,000 transactions a second. That's 2017. Some Russians we were working with were already past the million stage in transactions per second. So it wasn't scalability that was the issue. It was just, I felt like, I guess everyone's having such a good time just trading, tulips up on these exchanges that are unregulated, and everyone in the finance industry is making a lot of money. So why would anybody want to actually deploy this technology and actually compete with a Visa or a MasterCard or a PayPal in a decentralized way? And I decided to take on that challenge because of my my franchising knowledge and my technology knowledge, and I've been working in this space now for the last 6 years. And of course, take the pandemic years out, we were all locked down. And on the 1st of July, we are actually launching a world or global franchise model. We call it decentralized franchising, which is a first in the world. And that's our goal, to deploy this technology out there. I am a freedom fighter. I believe in our financial human rights and our human rights. I don't think anybody should be controlling our money. If we can deploy this technology, and it can be regulated, and it can basically go through the cracks, like the famous economist said, we've got to introduce something in a very roundabout way that hits mass scale, and then they can't stop it. And I guess that's the mission that I'm on at the moment. And of course, BSV's a very interesting community. It's an interesting technology. I've now had to pay attention to it because back in 2017 there wasn't any real good technology that from BSV or anything like that. But I'm seeing how we can integrate at this point and how maybe we can mix the two worlds together. So that's it from me, Gavin.
Decentralized franchising. This is freaking definitely a new concept. So feel free to open up if anybody has any comments or questions specifically on that subject for Peter. Please, any of the speakers have any comments or questions on what he said?
Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Is it a particular industry that you can franchise, or is it franchise contracts that can go horizontally across industries?
Well, I guess if somebody wanted to, they could go horizontally. But what I want to do is actually set up a de-franchise model that is for deploying a new payment system. And I guess the way that we're entering the market is through rewards and through barter. Barter's been around for about 60 years. It's pegged to fiat currency. It's been regulated. Here in Australia, it's been regulated since the 1990s. And so we've moved into this roundabout way of introducing this technology by legally, working in the barter space and also the reward space. And, that's a stable trading dollar, and rewards are something that are pretty big. And of course, we've designed a dual state currency. So on the same rail, on the same blockchain, our blockchain at the moment can do 100,000 transactions a second. It is commercial grade, it's industrial grade. In other words, it can take loads. It's fully secured. It's got bank grade security on it. There's no third party wallets or third party systems. It is there to compete with your Visa cards and your MasterCards. But like I said, the way we've entered the market is by being a barter and a rewards business. And we are effectively territorially working in an area to build an ecosystem, to put stickers up on the shop walls saying that we accept basically Bartios. We call it Bartios for barter, and EOS. Barter meaning the trading of assets, goods and services, and of course EOS meaning a new dawn with autonomous systems and artificial intelligence. So and we're going to deploy this, and I have a vision, and I had that vision in 2017 given my franchising background, basically that we could get at least 10,000 ambassadors to go out there to allow small business to actually use this and to redeem rewards with businesses as they use it. So we're using it for the space itself, but I guess if you wanted to use a decentralized franchise system on a smarter contract, you could do that. And I say smarter contract because smart contract when you've got a blockchain that does not have identities on the blockchain, I get that basically transactions need to be private if you're going to be competing. It's got to be like banking. If you're going to be competing with, the banking sector or the payment sector, you can't basically give your account number and then somebody actually looks in your account, sees how much money you have. That's just not going to cut it with the mums and the pups and the general masses. So you need to have your private transactions. And of course, back in 2017, we identified 27 commercial grade features, not to compete in the crypto space, but to compete with the incumbents of the payment industry and the banking industry. And so we built the whole system and the whole platform around basically, competing with these centralized payment technologies. So here we are. So yes, you can use it for other things as well, I guess. It is something that's new. It could only have come about by being in the blockchain space itself. Otherwise, how would you even come up with an idea of decentralized franchising? But with smart contracts, it's fully automated on our blockchain. Everyone gets paid by the blockchain. The dual state currency is of course the stable trade dollars, which are pegged to fiat currency, which don't fluctuate. And then on the other side of the coin is the crypto side, that you could switch it from your wallet and it could become like BTC or BSV, or it's a crypto. And of course, there are different laws governing both the two. So here in Australia, we just purchased an exchange, a regulated exchange here in Australia that's 3 years old, and it has a license to actually allow businesses to accept crypto. We have a license to accept actually 27 different types of crypto. And we want to set up shops, exchange shops at the same time. So we've got a big vision for this, but everything that's driving us and this whole defranchising business, it's not like your typical franchise where, there's a franchisor on top. A defranchise for us means that there's, it's got bottom-up leadership. There is no country franchisor. There is no master franchisor. There's only a franchisee, and he's totally defranchised because he's talking to a computer. Effectively, he's dealing with machine and person working together, autonomously. So we've created a fully autonomous franchise model, thinking you don't need a franchisor. You need a little bit of business coaching. That's fine when you start up. Of course, you are the franchisor. There's just no one on top of you. You're it. And you can be sponsored by somebody else who's another, we call them ambassadors. They're ambassadors for a territory. They build ecosystems. And of course, the barter industry has been doing that for over 60 years. And it's nothing new under the sun. It's probably very new for the crypto industry because it's all very tech-based and a lot of tech hype. But, if you basically look at all digital currency, that's been there before cryptocurrency, they were all commercial digital currencies. And, we've used, we have a lot of people out there in the world that have got a lot of talent, a lot of experience in the barter industry, in the rewards industry. These are people that go out there to small business and actually sell to small business. I mean, my current business in Australia has sold to over 18,000 businesses in the last decade. So obviously I've got a lot of business experience and acumen in regards to selling to the business sector. And we thought we could do it. And 6 years later, here we are.
Sounds like you're ready to launch. It sounds like you're done,
Yes.
So is there anything that you're,
launch.
I mean, at this point, what would you say? Well, first of all, we need to know, how do people find you? We need your Twitter, your website, or, whatever people find you. And then second, what is it that you're looking for that people might, be able to help with?
Well, I guess on the 1st of July, we're releasing to the world our defranchise model. If you send me, or, you've got my Twitter handle over there, I can post it on my Twitter handle. At
Peter, PeterKritas.
That is correct. And that's my handle over there. So I will post a link on the 1st of July, or even before the 1st of July, for anybody that wants to come to that meeting. And I'll be explaining everything in regards to our very unique defranchise model and how we're deploying blockchain technology for micropayments to the masses. And I believe in the next few years, we've got a pretty good system that we've actually, it's taken us some time, but we've got a pretty good system that I think is going to go viral. One thing about our blockchain is it's got mining, but it's got green mining, and it's all around the new consensus model called proof of social, where it's mobile mining, and you know, the merchants that actually have their merchant apps are actually mobile mining.
Nice.
And they are making around $1,875 a year. So a lot of that money comes in as income, but if they wanted to, it auto converts immediately into rewards for their customers. And you'll hear all about it on the 1st of July, but yeah, that's about defranchising.
Well, thanks for the preview on that, all that, Peter. I appreciate it. Anybody who's interested can go follow his X there, Peter Kritas on X, and hear about the launch. And it sounds like a fascinating project, something that maybe in harmony with everything we're doing. I think that was the concept of the London Blockchain Conference, where we wanted to bring all these like-minded people together that are on the same path, and that's basically the vision that we're on here. So let's open up the floor. Mila, do we have anyone that wants to chime in? Hands up, comments or questions, or anybody about this subject or any others?
Yeah, you should bring up Casey as a co-host. She had a
Casey, I will add you as co-host. All right.
I'd like to jump in and just ask Alex Favell, you know, like, you were the one that asked the question, so maybe would you, you know, comment, or did you have any thoughts on the model?
Yeah, I mean, franchising is obviously a massive industry. I've never seen it done successfully for the payment industry. I don't know whether that's a reason to do with the payment networks themselves. He then went into a bunch of blockchain stuff that I think, well, most of the audience here is BSV orientated, and we're diehard fans of proof of work, so proof of social doesn't really vibe with us, but I hope it's successful for you. I'm not necessarily too interested in the blockchain stuff that you're working on, but the business side of it sounds interesting.
And so, and feel free, anybody, thank you, Brett, anything else about that before and anybody else, feel free, Mila, if you see any hands up or anybody wants to jump up, we got 3 open spaces, so.
Yes, we got BSV here with a purplish picture. I can't see the rest of the name with the hand up.
Okay, add, if your hand's up, then add them, or if you have to request. And
okay, Gavin.
Add you. Go ahead. Who's this?
BSB Colombia, Gavin.
Yes. Hey, my friend. How you doing, buddy? Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks. I would like to make a brief introduction of myself.
Please.
5 minutes. Okay. I am electronic engineer from Colombia. My journey with Bitcoin begins in 2013. When I heard about Bitcoin from a brother-in-law, and at that time I started to read a lot of how it works, and I buy a couple of Bitcoins to learn how to use it, and a couple of years later I tried to began a project with Ethereum, with a friend of mine. Begins a project to tokenize Colombia emeralds, and tracking the process from the mining to the customers. But unfortunately, that project failed, and I was away from this space, from crypto space, like 5 years, and 2 or 3 years ago, I started to hear about Dr. Cray, right? and my hope to Beacon returns, and I'm back. I'm back again. I want to contribute to educate people, learn in English, but teach in Spanish. There are like 500 millions Spanish speaker in the world, and I think here we have a huge opportunity to BSB grow BSB, and in the South American countries, uh, the south part of the world, there are a lot of people with low incomes, and I think BSB can help them, because with very few fees, very few transaction fees, that will help the people to start their business or make anything. Um, I like to uh, test every new application that appears in BSB, new wallets, new NFT marketplaces like Zoide. I like to create
So
a collection, and I, I know about technology because I am an engineer, but I like to learn how to use that tools and try to teach another people with less technical knowledge how to use that.
So for the
And
Spanish speaking audience or anyone who wants to contact you and learn more about how to do this, how do they reach you? Is it Bitcoin
my
at Bitcoin
my
Cash COL?
yes, my Twitter handle is Bitcoin Cash Call COL. The name comes from 2018 when the first split of Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, and then I changed the name to
Nice.
BSB.
Well, that's
and
great.
and and
Thank you for the
the last one.
introduction. And
Have you read
let me just
Have you
jump
read
in
my
here.
article about Renaissance? I invite everyone to read that and let me know your thoughts.
I appreciate
Thanks.
it. That's very kind of you. And sounds like if anybody, a lot of people, a huge market there for Spanish speakers. So we definitely need you here. So thank you for jumping in. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people, including Satoshi, who would be helpful in that enterprise. So, but hey, before we do that, Casey, you mentioned there was a lot of spiritual, things that I feel like this is a much more, better vibes today than we had on the last space. I don't know what's different, but something is different on the energy. So maybe Casey, are you are you back up with us?
I am.
Do you feel that same way? We're getting different, more positive vibes. Some maybe we're protected now. I don't know what it is, but
I do. I've always felt that way about people in BSV. They're definitely a much more higher consciousness, awareness, just the people that are paying the most attention that I've found. And so it's always enjoyable to spend time with you guys and hear all of the entrepreneurial ideas. And this is where, creation starts, is just coming together to spend this time and let them all kind of come out as we, what Cliff High does with the collective consciousness. What were we talking about? The WebBot?
yeah, the WebBot back in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just Satoshi again. I'm really grateful. You're one of the first people, like Meg said, that started educating me, and the content you create is awesome, and I'm always trying to share it as far and wide as I can. So that Ariel guy and I have been having a lot of back channel conversations about the different things that he's involved with, and I just really want to see this take more of the mainstream conversation. I'm like so excited for that to happen, and my visualizations, that's all I'm doing, is seeing that get here as quickly as possible. So
Well, one
thanks again.
idea on that is what you inspired me. There's an influencer that I follow that Jason Brashear's Archaics, just as an example, but any influencer that you guys know, maybe this other person, and then just like modeling a way to interact with that person potentially, and then interview them. Or if you're not comfortable with that, then, bring them on a space like this, and we can do it here, because I mean, that's where it's going to go down. Talk about, it just gets we get a huge amount of exposure. So I'm not telling people to do that if they're, do it themselves, but if they're not comfortable in doing it themselves, then this is a place they could come, and we talk to them here. Or, I'm working on polishing up my channel even more, so, I can have a more professional channel, but right now it's pretty good, but, hopefully I could have other influencers, look at my channel. That's my goal with Jason is like, hey, he looks at it and he says, oh, this is serious. I do need to talk to this guy. It's not a joke, so hopefully we could, push the envelope forward more that way. So yeah, Mila, anybody have their hands up, or if anybody wants to jump up on stage, there's 2 spots open. We're at a little over an hour right now. So.
No, I don't see any hands up.
Okay,
anyway, only the people that are added as speakers can put a hand up. So that works. But Casey is still down as a speaker. I don't know if you want to add her as a co-host again.
I did, but I'm not sure why it's not working. Casey, is that working for you? Invite to co-host?
I didn't get a notification for that.
I pressed invite to co-host, but it doesn't, you're not getting it.
It's okay.
Okay, you're up. So
I invited Cranker and Candy Blockchain and Hector. Any of them want to come up? I always enjoy listening to their insights.
Mila, please, if they have requests, please add them if you see anybody requesting.
Really?
And then, I think they have to request to be added. So if they do, Mila, please add them up. And let's see. Brett, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned about, I guess we could talk about promoting, promoting this and getting it out there so we can get it out there more. That was a couple of ideas that you and I have had offline. You got some serious, inspiration here on this manifestable stuff. And it was really along the lines of what I was talking to Casey about, where how do we increase the vibe or keep the vibe going in the right direction? With what you know about.
Yeah, well, before I jump into that, I just want to refocus or announce the intention of the group. It's always good to really talk about that. So yeah, the focus and the intention of the group is just Mastermind. How do we help each other? And we have to talk about what we're doing in order to help it. In order to accept the help for it. So we're out here, sometimes just spitballing, sometimes talking about what's on our mind, sometimes announcing plans that we've laid for 6 years. So I'm really impressed by everything that Peter was talking about. And then on the other side too, I represent, the BSV side like a lot of us do. And so, Peter would love to talk to you if you have questions about BSV. I'd love to talk to you more about that, but then also really just reinforcing that, it's a group where we're all helping each other, regardless of the technology that we're using, because, we really are trying to stay focused on the goals of what we're striving towards. And Peter, you were talking about, freedom and stuff like that. And those are obviously all really important to us as well. And, what it's important for us to remember that technology is only valuable insofar as it becomes a stepping stone to get to those goals that we've outlined. And, so Alex mentioned, that we are, we are probably the, proof of, of all the people out there in the world that are proof of work maxis, we're probably the strongest of them all in terms of our conviction towards the value of proof of work. And in some ways that is, because of things that Mags talked about, which is that, what you don't get a lot of information out there, spoon-fed to you about BSV or anything like this. If anything, it becomes more difficult to try to follow up and find information about that. You Peter talked about the high scalability of the solution that you've came up with. At BSV, we really, scalability is important to us. It's not just important to us because we want to pat ourselves on the back and say, look at how scalable we are. But it's really because economic incentives have to drive the heart and the engine of the network. And that's the only way we think to actually create this concept that we keep using that sometimes gets misused of decentralization, because it's actually the combined efforts of all of the different chaos that the system is able to facilitate that creates some sort of harmony. And, like we, to touch on what Casey, was talking about and what Gavin was talking about, the high vibration, et cetera, like there's a saying that if you kind of zoom out of the universe, within the local levels, you hear, this person's opinion or that person's opinion. But if you keep zooming out, the combined, chaos of the universe is basically producing an ohm sound, and it's a meditative sound. But it's not by us all producing the ohm sound that it comes. It comes as the natural balancing point of all the various different chaos that the universe is pursuing. And it's important that we have those alternative approaches where some of us are trying proof of work, some of us are trying, other strategies, because at the end of the day, we can learn lessons from each other. That's what the Mastermind group is about. So I wanted to just make sure that was, because we're going to continue to host these events. So we want to really just mention that. And to that, I want to, more than just talk about it, offer my services to you in terms of, what I can do to, to give you some product testing feedback. That's one of the really wonderful things about having a tight-knit community. Especially I've noticed around BSV is there's a lot of people like Mag said, BSV Columbia said, willing to try basically any product that is built on the network because we connect with the values that are driving at the heart of it. And so it's a special thing to have that, to be able to as a entrepreneur, as a serial entrepreneur, to, I'm sure you're aware, but to get that instant product feedback. So anything that I can do to that, any way that I can help facilitate that, I want to offer that. And then, just open it up to any questions. If anyone had any questions about, what I was talking about earlier, I'm happy to take any questions, or else, can pass it off.
Beautiful, Brett. Thank you. And, that is an important reminder to make sure to remind the group of the purpose of this meeting. And that is the Mastermind concept that Andrew Carnegie so delicately and adequately brought forward from the original scriptures, from the Nazarene, and then was put forth by Napoleon Hill. So just for beginners, if you haven't already read it, Think and Grow Rich is the starting point. But goes into Law of Success, and then also the Think Your Way to Wealth, which is the transcripts, the shorthand transcripts that Napoleon Hill took from Andrew Carnegie and when he first met him. And then there's also Gospel of Wealth by Andrew Carnegie, his autobiography. So all of those are excellent study guides on these concepts. So, it really talks about how any of the most successful men that Napoleon Hill met at that time were all deploying this concept. It wasn't like, well, only some of them did that. Everybody, they all did. Andrew Carnegie had 50 people in his group, Charles Schwab being his right hand. And then he didn't know much about steel. He really didn't even know how to do he really didn't even know how steel worked. It was just crazy, but he didn't. But his team knew everything. And so it's just a mastermind concept where we're all in the same group with the same purpose, going after this vision. And I think that's who's the best on the vision, man. I don't know. I really would like to defer on that, on describing what is the vision. I'm opening up a challenge to anyone to describe what is the vision.
A vision of what, mate? Vision of Bitcoin?
Yeah. What is the vision of Bitcoin?
Oh, well, Craig told everybody what the vision of Bitcoin was when he did that interview with Dale Dickens. And she goes, what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? And he just said, quite simply, Bitcoin is the future of everything. And then I kind of added a little bit onto that. And quite simply, Bitcoin is the foundation layer of all future digital technologies, secured and underpinned by economic principles. That's what it is. That's literally what it is. The entire digital world will run on Bitcoin because it's the only way to commoditize data and therefore give data its integrity to make sure that it can't be cracked, hacked, altered, changed, or deleted. And considering the entire world now runs on digital information is simply too precious to lose, which means everybody will be using the Bitcoin network.
Satoshi, so take me back down a little bit in time, because you've already come, you've done your research, you've met everybody, you know, you're way advanced and you've already made these conclusions. You know, where was it in your, you know, years ago in your research or your investigation, your education, where you're like, wait a second, this is going to run on everything? Where was, take me back in time where your mind was and how that all, you kind of fit this together with this vision.
Yeah, so it was really when Bitcoin was first created, it was, you know, everyone's saying, oh, it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, you know, and it's a way of transferring value. But, you know, something can only have value if it's useful. You know, if something is useful, it's valuable. If something is useless, it's worthless. And so everybody initially was just simply going on about, you know, Bitcoin, you know, it's money, you can transfer it. But then you've just got, well, you know, this thing goes up and down. The price is really volatile. Why would I use something where I'm sort of, you know, I can lose 50% or 20% the next day? You know, what is it that's actually going to make people buy this thing? What use case does it have? And then I realized that what people were doing is that they were looking at the coins that were being made and speculating on them and not actually looking at what the network can do. And so the way you access and use the network is by buying the coins. So then when you look at what the network can be used for, and then you realize that the network is basically an unbounded, globally distributed, economically competitive server that everybody and everyone now can access by buying Bitcoin, which means all these large corporations that are currently spending millions, if not billions of dollars on protecting and maintaining and servicing their own server networks, they can now get rid of all those and they can just simply put everything on the Bitcoin network for the cost of a micropayment. So it saves them, you know, millions, if not billions of dollars. And all they've got to do is buy Bitcoin. So they're buying it in order to save themselves millions, if not billions. And at the same time, it's something that's fixed in supply and therefore going up in value. Yeah, so it's a double whammy. But yeah, going back to your question, it was really just trying to think, you know, why would people buy this? What makes it useful? And then I realized that, you know, people were purposely being distracted towards looking at the price of the token rather than looking at the utility of the network. So once I realized that, it was just like, whoa, that was the sort of mind-blowing point. And then I was just like, that's when I was just like, look, people aren't educating on this properly, you know, and that's why I started my channel, trying to explain it.
Defender of the original Bitcoin protocol, Satoshi, at Satoshi TV.
Yeah.
Everybody follow Satoshi and you can learn about the defender of Bitcoin protocol. He's a real person. I met him a number of times in London. So he's actually.
And Gavin.
Yeah, please.
I just had saw that Peter's hand was up. So I just wanted to circle back to Peter after this and just
please,
see.
Yeah, Peter.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. Yeah, I did put my hand up, but everyone was talking, so I'll put it back down again. I guess what I wanted to say is that, you know, I went to London and I know everyone here is very much into BSV and proof of work and, you know, all of these, all that technology. But what I guess I went to London for is because there's nothing wrong with, or let's just say that, I won't say that there's nothing wrong. Let's just say that BSV and Bitcoin and the crypto industry and the technology around the crypto industry is very different to the technology that we have built that basically requires it to be used for micropayments, that needs stable trading, that needs privacy, that needs identity on the blockchain for government compliance. There's a very big difference between a concept and just some idea and actually taking it down to a real commercial reality. And so there's no real conflict between BSV and, let's say, what we call our BTE as a ticker symbol. our Bartios, BTE, is not conflicting with BSV or with BTC, because at the end of the day, the crypto side is not important for us. The only reason we've even got a dual state currency, which is a BTE or a BTC type of crypto on the other side that you can exchange it in, is because there's so much, there's a market, a financial market that's already been created, and that liquidity is actually good at a commercial level as well. Otherwise, we're not focused on crypto at all. So if we were to use, let's say, BSV as the other side of the coin, and we had Bartios as the commercial grade to be used for micropayments, and it's specific technology that's there for government and for the people, and it's, you know, got all the 27 great commercial features that can't be done on the BSV blockchain. It doesn't mean we couldn't run two different blockchains from the same wallet, that if you wanted to exchange from one to the other, you could. But we have purpose built a technology that can compete with PayPal, with Visa card, with Alipay. And that's very different to the current crypto technology that's out there. And neither do we want to trade crypto, because crypto is volatile. It's not a stable state for trading. It's an open financial product. You can actually look in there with a blockchain explorer and you can see somebody's account and their transactions. It's not commercial grade. So there's a purpose and a place for crypto, and there's a purpose and a place for, let's say, stable currency or a CBDC currency that's decentralized. So let's call it a decentralized CBDC currency that's stable for trading goods and services on a daily basis for micropayments.
And Brett, do you have any response to that?
Yeah. And I guess that's why we're entertaining the idea of how do we mix in BSV crypto with basically Bartios, stable currency for trading every day, you know, in a community. No different to basically when you get, you know, points or flyby points, you know, from, you know, a corporation, and you use those, but they're stable. You can buy things with it. You can buy whatever, airplane tickets, and go for travel, and you can do whatever. You know, the alternative digital currency, commercial digital currency space in the world accounts for 35% of all the minted money, which is really an economic stimulus for fiat currency. And the governments don't really mind that alternative currency. They mind crypto because crypto is not really a usable, you know, people don't buy Bitcoin so they can actually, you know, purchase their goods and services. They buy it for investment purposes. People don't want to use crypto. And the fact that you actually take it out and you start using it, well, you know, here in Australia, you've got to pay capital gains tax on it. Yeah. So,
and Peter, let me, if I can just jump in and excuse me for a moment. Sure, I want to have, see if you asked a pertinent question there about how it can possibly integrate. And I think Brett, I would like to see if Brett would like to respond to that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'll just say is that, you know, I really admire you because, first of all, I think that lock, stock, in step, you know, our messages are the exact same. In fact, probably everyone in this channel right now has the exact same vision that you have. And, you know, you've not just, it's not just a thing that you're discussing or that you're talking about, but you've really obviously put a ton of work and effort into it. You're ready to launch. And so just like Alex said, you know, we're really looking forward to, you know, cheering on your success and everything, you know, and then basically we, you know, we just maybe have a different view on the implementation, how to implement that. And, you know, that's, you know, there's always going to be differences of views, especially when it comes to technology. I've noticed that, you know, there's no fiercer defenders, you know, than people who insist on the you know, the technological implementations of the problem that you're describing. But yeah, we are, you know, brothers, simpatico, you know, and also there is a way that we can work together. Well, first of all, I want to also make another offer, which is just that it sounded like you said EOS at the end. So is it actually built on the base layer of EOS? Is that the fundamental layer that's on top of?
Yeah, we originally built it on the graphene blockchain in 2017 because that blockchain, when we looked at the code, was absolutely phenomenal. It could already go to 100,000 transactions a second. It was developed by Cryptonomics. 100 of the best software engineers on the planet built that technology from the ground up. It's good tech. And so we just had to choose something and then build around it. And we built it's sort of like we got the engine, we had to modify that, and then we had to build the body around it as well. And that's what we've done. But like I said, crypto and, stable trading dollars, like trade dollars, like in the barter industry for it's been using for the last 60 years, are totally two different things. And they're classified as two different things, mostly from the governments and the tax departments as well. So,
right. Now, Peter, let me just jump back and try to stay on point here with that question. Brett, did he answer your question? And do you have a response to the EOS blockchain?
Yeah. So, I just wanted to just clarify that with you. I'm sure that you already have close relationships with the EOS team, but it is a relationship that I have one of the founding members of the EOS team who just, happens to be connected to me through, mutual interest in BSV. And, maybe I could make an introduction there, if that's of interest to you. Be interested in talking to you further. We could take it offline, but there's obviously ways that, we're basically tackling the same problem. And, when we're talking about scalability through BSV, well, first of all, a lot of the things that Satoshi was talking about there, these are fundamental, questions that make us, in a way, like, I hate to say the black sheep in the room, but, we have these, we are looking at this long term, not just of how we can get in and get out and, take advantage of some misunderstanding of crypto and make a dollar or something like this. But we're really talking about re-engineering the entire world to be built around this. And, there's that. With that being said, there's obviously, aspects of it about whether or not it's a commodity and things like this that are really important when we're talking about it as using it as fundamental infrastructure. And so, not only am I just, a fan of yours in terms of, putting your, walking the walk instead of just talking the talk, but also really aligned with you in terms of the vision, how you think that it needs to be rolled out to be, plumbing for a next wave of applications on the internet, and including the internet itself can be an application on the blockchain. These are all the things that we're building the infrastructure for. So would love to keep a conversation going. And then, if you have any questions for me about scalability, the scalability solutions that we're building on BSV, feel free to fire away. Otherwise, we can also just, set up a call offline and maybe talk about ways we could work together.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Peter. Let me go back on over to Mag. She was our other guest here today, and see if she wants to chime in on anything else. And then we'll open up to any other comments or questions and start to wind down. So, Mags.
Thanks, everybody, for such a warm welcome. I've had a blast today, and I look forward to chatting again.
Yeah, well, we definitely would like to hear from you. Sounds like what we're going to do is continue this on Wednesdays at the same time. So that's the plan. And we'll continue this. It's going to grow. It's going to build, and we'll just keep on bringing on the similar structure like this. So feel free to chime back in on the same time on Wednesday. Any hands up, Mila, or people that are requesting to come up and ask questions or comment or speak?
Yes, we got Cub sorry, Cub here with a hand up.
Okay, bring him in. Cub, you're up, buddy.
Hey, thanks. And I know you're wrapping it up, and I shouldn't probably give the 2-minute introduction, but
yeah,
I wanted to thank
well, I know Brett. You know Brett. It's CUB, and we've talked to you once before, but please, what's on your mind? We'd love to hear from you.
Well, I think I want to draw out your question as well to Megs, maybe to fill in a bit more, because I can see there's a website that she's got. I see she's in Alberta. I'm here based in Ottawa in Ontario, but I'm from the West Coast. So Megs really would like to get connected with you, so I followed you, and I think that's part of the reason these sessions happen, for people to get connected. So and then
first of all, and I want to just, so people can find you, it's sure. At Can You Blockchain on X. Right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Go continue.
The letter U.
The letter U. Yeah. Are you able to? And then originally the name was the universities as well. Canadian University. That's why it has a book in the middle, and that kind of overlaps with the thing. A couple of one has left the BSV Columbia, but Mags brought up, and I think also Satoshi and Peter as well, maybe, and Casey, I think too, in terms of the education, the importance of education, and obviously it needs a community. And I know that Dolores Cahill was talking.
Oh, is she on today? Dolores, are you here? I don't know if she
No,
is. Do you
we
see her?
don't have the doors today.
Okay.
No, she was on recently, and I recall also during the trial in London trial one day she talked about wanting to bring together people into a kind of a learning management system of some kind. I think that's one thing that's lacking in overall in the BSB ecosystem. And again, Peter, we're talking about ecosystems here because there's so many different blockchain protocols. My background is I got into blockchain, let's say, learning through the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain when I was in Eastern Europe, and I came back to Canada, and really was through the triple entry accounting that really got me piqued and interested more than on.
Can you come a little closer to your mic, or so?
Oh, okay.
Maybe speak a little louder.
Okay, sure. Yeah, hopefully that's better.
All right, try that. And you were saying that you were learning about the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain in Eastern Europe. Continue.
Yeah, so I had an academic background, and so the triple entry accounting really is what piqued me, and reading about how that would apply in the digital space through Ian Griggs' paper in 2005. And but I got into it also through some of the other blockchains, working on a startup company, and then learning through multi-chain was one of the early ones in 2015. Gideon Greenspan, we used that as the first prototype. So working on business prototypes as well. And I think there needs to be a space for that. So the education together with the innovation of the people bringing ideas into the blockchain space. If they want to prototype something, they want to brainstorm with like-minded people. Again, here the term mastermind is used, but where they can, bounce some ideas off and then get perhaps people in the room like this electrical engineer who was on here recently, but others who build to, let's say, try a prototype and then see if we can use that for a local community and test it out. And I think that would be something just to throw it, and sort of a suggestion. People have talked about another hackathon coming up, but it may be an opportunity before a December hackathon to have something maybe late summer where it's sort of a pitch or an innovation, not competition, but a gathering, a mastermind sort of related event, if you want to say. Earlier on, it was the Bitcoin debates, but that hasn't continued. But where specifically where people can come in and pitch something, and then bring resources together. Do you have some developers? Do you have some designers? Do you have some marketers? Right? Do you have people in different languages? Right? With the guy from Colombia, who would bring attention to what we're trying to do in this ecosystem. And so, Peter, for you, I guess that would be the link. Is there are different blockchains. Let 1,000 blockchains bloom. However, there's a lot of junk out there. So the caveat that I think a lot of people here would make would be, what is this proof of social? So with my academic background, I was a sociologist. So that we'd be talking about baskets of values and qualities and things like that. That's what would pique my interest to explore more with you. I think if there's spaces like forums that go parallel with the xSpaces, but together with things like the Discord group, there's a Slack membership group. I don't know if there's a Telegram group. Yeah, there's a Telegram, but is there a WhatsApp group? And I'm just thinking of ways that people can sort of get linked together. And then appreciate again Gavin and others, Smila and the others for hosting and co-hosting this event.
Like an invite group, basically, or just a random group for anybody. What did you have in mind? Because Casey has something that might be appropriate for that.
Yeah, Casey, someone has mentioned, or a couple of people even maybe that we should be in touch in terms of your plans. We've got an open source forum built, but I think it could partner with things that other people are doing. It's a matter of coordinating and planning.
Yeah, I'd be happy to connect. I've wanted to connect with you as well. And when Ryan and I were working together, we had brought quite a large group of people together, the Social Bitcoin Web Consortium. So trying to kind of revive that group and bring them here together with us and doing some major masterminding. I've got that list. We can talk about it when we connect.
So like even Gavin, if you can put up that, we can get some regular scheduling, even like, I guess, Casey, there was some sort of coordination and planning for sessions to talk about and focus on things that could be built and done.
Absolutely.
Then, yeah.
I mean, let me just jump in on that. And this is something, Brett, we should schedule, which would be like what he said. He kind of said, what is it? The ideas, or how did you describe it? It's kind of like the prelude to the hackathon, where we get David Case, who, is like one of the freaking leading minds out there. And I don't know if he was listening earlier, if he's still on, but he had some amazing ideas for me in London. We bring him on, and then we have, let's say, Peter on, or someone else that has Peter's already launching his, but somebody who's like getting closer, has an idea. Boom. How can we make this work? And we use that for time and schedule specifically for times like this. So I would be totally into that. Brett?
Yeah, I would even love if, maybe there could be some sort of like a scheduled after party or a scheduled after session to these mastermind sessions that maybe not everyone can make, but, for conversation that carries over, and that could be really fun to try planning as well.
Mila, are you interested in doing that?
Yeah, I did post here up in the nest. If you look, if you stroll downwards, you're gonna see that at the top there is today. We will have the After Gavin space.
Okay, so I go to the top.
So an after Gavin is kind of like, it's the opposite of a hangover, where instead of feeling like, really lethargic, you feel like really buzzed. You have an after Gavin.
Yeah.
Where did that sound come from? Who did that?
I figured out.
Are we talking about decentralized exchanges where there's an influence and spoofing and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, you were asking, do you have a specific question about decentralized exchanges and spoofing as a topic?
Yeah, exactly. Because, like BitTrue, and how you have like the 3x tokens, right? That you can buy and you don't get